Kirschke, host for this evening's demonstrations on appetizers and hors d'oeuvres. This will be the first in a series that we have planned that will air from time to time on appetizers and hors d'oeuvres, those tasty little morsels that we serve to our guests with beverages before dinner, that we serve as mini meals for our parties, or that we serve in great variety and quantity for those fun-filled cocktail parties and open houses. We've got a variety of recipes for you this evening, and we're going to start with a hot hors d'oeuvre, mini meatballs, and our demonstrator will be Lorraine Buth. Hi Lorraine, it's nice to have you with us, and boy, are the smells that are coming from that crock pot are just phenomenal. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your recipe?
Well, this recipe is a favorite in our family. It's I got it from my mother now. I'm not sure how long she's had it or where she got it, but once she started using this, everybody liked the meatballs so well that everyone wanted the recipe, and so we've been using it ever since. And it's really just a basic meatball recipe with a few little special ingredients added.
Oh, I'm anxious to hear what those special ingredients are.
Okay, I have made them up ahead of time because we're saving time here, and so the main meatballs are cooking here in the crock pot. But what I did to get ready for that is I mixed together in the bowl 1 pound of ground beef, half a cup of bread crumbs, a 1/3 cup of chopped onions, 1 egg, a 1/4 cup of milk, a teaspoon of salt, or half a teaspoon of salt. Now, if that's too much salt, you know, let up on some of that. I don't put that much in, but that's tablespoon of lemon juice. This is one of the extra things. And a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, which gives it a little kick. And then the really neat thing about this recipe is it also has 1 cup of chopped nuts.
Ah.
Now, we use walnuts, but you can use just about any kind of nut that you like. I've tasted them with peanuts or any other kind of nut that you might want to put in there. But we have, my mother lives in Oregon, and she has access to Oregon homegrown nuts, and so we use the walnuts, and what I've used here tonight are hand-shelled by my mother, fresh-grown Oregon walnuts, and so that's what's in here. And after you mix all this together, now if you're the kind of person that doesn't mind getting in and gushing it up, that's great. I don't particularly care about doing that, so I mix it all together with a spoon. And so what I've done is, as I said before, I mixed it all up, and the main ones are in the crock pot. But then, because we call them mini, we take about a half of a teaspoon and make them into the tiny meatballs, and put them in a baking dish, so that you can bake them in the oven. And I just, you know, formed little tiny meatballs. And this particular recipe with meatballs about this size makes a yield of about 4 dozen.
Oh, that's...
So, and that's only with 1 pound of ground beef. So you can see that if you wanted to double it, if you had a really big party that you were going to serve, if you wanted to double the recipe, you'd have quite a few meatballs. And meatballs seem to be a real favorite.
They are, and because they're hot, they're so nice to have, because there usually are a lot of cold hors d'oeuvres, but the hot ones are really something special.
And I like this particular thing because it is so easy. I'm not one to spend a lot of time cooking, and so if I can come up with something that is going to take a very short amount of time and be really good, then that's what I go for. And so you just continue to make these little meatballs and put them in a baking dish. And as I said, it makes about 4 dozen. And then what you do when you get them all out in your pan, you bake them in the oven for 25 minutes at 350.
Do you have to turn them at all?
No, just put them in there and they bake. Now I use a hamburger that is the lean, so that you don't get a lot of the grease. Now, you wouldn't have to, because the grease would come out and be on the pan, but it's surprising how little grease comes out of these once.
Yes, when it's really lean,
when it's
so much more
really
healthy for you too.
And it is. Yes, that's why I like to use that. So let's put this away, and then, of course, this is just the basic meatball recipe. What you can do with that, if your party is very big and you want to have something made ahead, make up your meatballs and bake them, and then put them in the freezer.
Great idea.
Without putting anything on them. And then when it comes time for your party, make up any kind of sauce that you might want to have for it. Now, again, I go with our family, and our family is particularly fond of sweet and sour. So this is, we prefer using a sweet and sour sauce with the meatballs. You could use a barbecue sauce, for example, or a teriyaki sauce, any kind of sauce that goes well with meatballs, and just have it over the top. Now, I have them cooking in a crock pot, which is a nice way to serve them as well if you have a nice looking crock pot. But also, if you have a little more formal dinner, you could come and serve them in a, as this is, a fondue pot with the burner underneath, or if you have a glass carafe type dish, and put that with a candle, put that in that
chafing dish would probably
dish.
work.
Yes, that's
too
what I
well.
meant. And I'm just going to put a few of these over in here so we can see what they, as they're going in the pot there.
Now, does this have some pineapple in it?
Yes, that pineapple is in the sauce, and so as that would be one way of serving them out of there. And then just have your fondue pot plus your toothpicks or however you were going to serve them, so that as they are on your table, then people can just come by and take out
Why don't we display a few of those? They look so wonderful on that plate there, and the viewers can get a good shot, look at those. And the good pineapple in there too.
And the pineapple can also have, the pineapple is part of the goodness of it as well. Now, with the sweet and sour sauce, I make that on the top of the stove in a saucepan, because that is it needs to boil in order to get to thicken it up. And the ingredients that go into that is 1 can of chunk pineapple, and 1/2 cup of brown sugar, and pack that firmly, and 1/4 cup of vinegar, and 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. And then in a separate little dish, mix together 3 tablespoons of cornstarch and 2 tablespoons of water. I like cornstarch better than flour because you don't get the lumps, and it smooths out so nicely. And then when your first ingredients are bubbling and boiling, then put the cornstarch in, and it thickens almost immediately. And it really is a really good sweet and sour sauce that our family just really enjoys very much.
Oh, well,
and then, of course, the longer they simmer in the crock pot in that sweet and sour sauce, the more that flavor goes into the meatballs.
It really has a chance to mingle, and you
Right.
Well, I'm anxious. Later on in the show, we're going to come back and we're going to taste all of these luscious hors d'oeuvres that we've had prepared for us. Thank you so much, Lorraine. I'm really anxious to try these because of that secret walnuts ingredients.
Right, they really are good, and as you can see, it's very simple to make, and you'll find that most everybody that tries these meatballs want the recipe.
Great, thanks, Lorraine. What we're going to have next is a new twist on an old favorite. We're going to have a vegetable pizza, and Barb Nolan is going to demonstrate that for us. Hi, Barb. I'm so anxious to see what you're going to do here that I can hardly wait.
Okay, it's really a fun recipe. It's not the kind of vegetable pizza you can send out for, but it is a delightful one, I'll say that. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to start by kind of telling everyone what you're going to need to make this. First of all, you're going to start out with 2 rolls of crescent roll mix, and I already have those in a bowl ready. You're going to need a 16-ounce container of sour cream. You're going to need an 8-ounce bar of cream cheese, and then you're going to need a number of assorted vegetables, and people can use those that they do prefer. I happen to like cauliflower, broccoli, tomatoes, carrots, an onion, and black olive. What I do is I generally use 2 cups of both the cauliflower and broccoli, and then I use, probably a cup of carrots, 1 medium, kind of a small to medium-sized onion, a small can of black olives, and then I usually cut up, 1 to 1.5 tomatoes. Okay, what I think we'll do is we'll start working right away. I also forgot to add we do use a package of ranch dressing too.
Is that mixed in with the cream cheese and sour cream?
Right. What I'm going to do is first I'm going to make the crust. We make this just like we make a pizza. We have crust, sauce, and topping. Okay? For the crust, what we do is we use rolls of crescent mix. You will have 4 of them, and what you do is you take a 10.5 by 15-inch jelly roll pan and you simply line it with crescent roll. Okay, it's real important that you do grease this, because if you do not, you're going to have one heck of a sticky mess. Okay, so make sure you do oil this. I have already done that. Then you simply take the crescent roll mix and you roll it out. I'm going to do that really quick for you.
What did we ever do before we had crescent roll mix?
I don't know. But what's really nice about this is as you roll it out, it all fits on there really nice. You can do this really quick. I'm going to do it probably a little quicker than you would do at home, simply to save time, but it will give you some idea of how the crust does go together.
Oh, and what a nice sized pan. They're going to get a lot of servings out of there.
What I like to do is I like to cut the pieces into a 2.5 inch or 2 by 2 inch square, and you get about 35 pieces. Okay.
Okay.
Now what you'll do, if I can lay this down for a second, is we'll pat it together and we'll make sure that we have the entire pan covered with crust.
Okay.
We're working under hot lights, so the crust will probably be a little bit easier to work with in your home. What you'll want to do is, just like you do with a pizza, you do make a nice little edge crust to basically hold the sauce in. And again, I'm doing this rather quickly, but it will just give you some idea of how you will put the crust together at home. Okay? What you'll do once the whole pan is covered, you will bake it according to the directions on the can, okay? Something like this. What I'm going to do is I've already baked one, so I'm going to put this one underneath and bring one up and show you what it looks like once it is cooked.
Ooh.
There you go. It's real puffy, it's golden. It is supposed to puff up, so don't punch it down. It's supposed to be real light.
Leave it puffed, okay.
Okay, what you do next then is you mix up your sour cream, your cream cheese, a packet of ranch dressing, and the secret ingredient is a tablespoon of dill weed. To save us time, I have already done that. It's nice to mix it up with either a hand mixer, or I've heard a food processor works real well, and you do get a mixture that looks something like this. Okay?
Looks delicious.
What you'll do with it is then you will spread it on. This will be the sauce of the pizza. So I'll go ahead and do that real quickly.
You can smell that dill.
You sure can. It is the special ingredient that really makes this taste wonderful. Now some people do change the recipe. Some people like to use less of the cream cheese and sour cream mixture. That is all up to you. Other people too will only use like a half a container of ranch dressing. It's all kind of what your tastes are. Right. Okay.
That's what's really nice too, because you can individualize it then to your own family's tastes.
Right, right. Okay, what you do then is once you have that sauce, shall we call it, spread out over the pan, then you'll make it simply like a pizza. You'll take your vegetables, and if you want to help me, Bonnie, we'll just sprinkle those, and you can use your hands.
Do you do them one layer at a time?
I like to do them one layer at a time.
All right,
so why don't you help me do this?
Okay.
And try to cover all the areas.
And what a colorful.
Oh, it is, and it's kind of a healthful appetizer to serve. I have friends who are vegetarians, and they always appreciate it. A number of times people will make meat appetizers, and it's really nice to have one simply made of vegetables.
It surely is.
Okay, and next we'll take the broccoli, and we'll go ahead and layer that on.
Starting to get those nice colors with that green.
Well, at Christmas, what I'm going to do is simply substitute in green peppers, red peppers, and make it real Christmassy.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Tomatoes can come next. Again, you know, use the vegetables that you enjoy. I have friends who like to use a lot of celery, green peppers, green olives, things. You can even use anchovies, I suppose. You'd put on a pizza.
Just as versatile as a pizza.
Right, right. Okay.
All the things that you really like.
Oh, that looks like we've got enough tomatoes on there. Okay. If you want to do the carrots, I'll follow you with the onions so we can get through this.
All those wonderful colors.
It is. It does not stay around long at parties, I will tell you that.
Do you usually cut it and put it on a dish, or do you leave it in the pan?
I've done both. If you leave it in the pan, it tends to get a little bit more messy. Sometimes it helps if you can cut it up for your guests. It is kind of rich. It does have a lot of cream cheese in, so you do have to cut them in fairly small pieces. Okay, black olives go on, and then, of course, you have to have the topping of all toppings, cheese. What would a pizza be without cheese? Right.
Exactly.
So you can follow me with
cheese.
With cheese, and I do have a couple extra underneath.
Now, what kind of cheeses do you have here?
What I'm using is a Colby and a cheddar mix, or excuse me, a Colby and a Monterey Jack mix. You can use a mild or a sharp cheddar. You can use mozzarella if you want. This just happens to be my favorite. So again, you can, you know, go after your own tastes.
Oh, and there it is, those wonderful colors.
There you go.
One more of those, I think.
Right, I like a lot of cheese. The amount of cheese we're using is an 8-ounce package of shredded cheese. I think
8 ounce?
Yeah, I think I did forget to point that out. So there we go. Once you get all that layered, it's nice to kind of chill it up. Chill it up for at least an hour in the refrigerator before serving it. And then, you know, cut it up into, you know, 2-inch squares, and that's a nice serving size.
Okay.
And do we want to cut out a couple of pieces?
Why don't we do that? We'll take a knife here, and we've got a little tray.
Okay.
Okay, the first piece is always the hardest to cut.
That's
oh,
right.
Dear. Can we press down on it a little bit?
I have been known to do that. It does, cutting it is the hardest part because all the vegetables want to fall off. So you have the tough job, Bonnie.
I got the tough job, huh? Okay. Well, we're going to display this here. A few slices. And now we'll try and get that first piece out. Came out just like a charm.
Yeah, and there's your little pizza. You've got your crust. It's a wonderful crust. It's a nice, light, airy crust, and it's just a real enjoyable appetizer.
Oh, I can't wait to try this. There, I think we'll put one more on, and we have a nice
display.
Well, it certainly is a wonderful recipe and makes such a nice amount. Thank you so much, Barb. We appreciate your coming and sharing this wonderful recipe with us.
Well, thank you for having me, Bonnie.
And the next item that we're going to be preparing is Parmesan knots, and this will be demonstrated by Sandy Doberstein. Hi, Sandy. Great to have you with us here this evening.
Thank you, Bonnie.
You're going to show us Parmesan knots.
Right.
And I'm really anxious to
Okay.
see these, so let's get going.
They're real simple and easy to make. First thing you need is 3 cans of refrigerated biscuit dough. And this will yield about 70 knots. And what you do is you open up the can, which is always an experience, and they come out, you know, in the nice, neat little biscuit form, and you have to cut them into thirds. So I usually kind of squeeze them together a little bit, and that makes it easier to cut them into thirds.
And get a more equal portion.
Right. And then you take them and you roll them and make them into a little string. And this is something you can get your kids involved in doing. They love doing this.
Oh, that's great.
And then you stretch them a little bit, and then you just tie them into a knot.
Oh, kind of like a pretzel.
Right. And put them on an ungreased cookie sheet or pizza pan, whatever you have. So just keep doing this until you get them all done. Now something, I don't particularly like the taste of biscuit dough myself. So I have taken frozen bread dough, and after it's been thawed, take off little chunks, roll them, tie them in the knots, let them raise a little bit, and that works really well. I like the taste of that better than I do the biscuit.
Well, that's
So-
versatile then, because you might have the bread dough in the freezer.
Right, right. So, okay, after you've done the 3 cans, you bake them exactly the way that the package says, about 400, 12 to 14 minutes depending. And then while they are baking, we'll just set that aside, you mix the ingredients for the stuff that you pour over them.
Okay.
And what you need is a 1/2 cup of oil. This is just regular salad oil, although I have used olive oil, and that works really well. A 1/2 cup of Parmesan, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. Now, I personally would use less than this because I'm not as fond of the garlic taste.
Garlic, okay.
A tablespoon of oregano, a tablespoon of parsley flakes. And sometimes I'm a dill nut. I just love dill. So I have substituted dill for this, and it works really well. And then about 1/4 of a teaspoon of pepper, if you like. And you mix that all up.
Ooh, does that smell good? That oregano.
Right, it has kind of an Italian taste to it. This works well with spaghetti and stuff. When I tried the bread dough, I made a little bit bigger than what the normal knots are, and that makes a nice roll. My husband and kids loved it. Oh, thank you. Okay, after the knots have been baked, they come out and they look like this. And then you just take the mixture, and I'm not going to pour the whole thing because this would be for like 70 knots.
For 70.
But we're just going to pour a little bit over the knots, and then you stir them up until they have absorbed as much of the mixture as possible. And you might have to stir for quite a while to get it to kind of soak in.
I have the feeling that this is going to be like peanuts. You can never eat just one of them. Once you start, you're going to be eating them and eating them.
You can do that, especially if you like the taste of garlic. So now, now that you have it kind of mixed up and it's pretty well absorbed, what you do is if you want to reheat them, you just put them back in the oven at 350 for about 5 minutes, and it kind of absorbs a little more of the oil too. Or if you want to use them later on, you can freeze them, just like this.
After you've put the
After you've put the mixture on it, you freeze them, and if you have any mixture left, just pour it into the bag and freeze it. And then when you're ready to use it, you thaw it and bake it at about 350 for about 5 minutes or so. And they turn out like this. Now, I would suggest putting them in a bowl or a basket that has a paper towel or a napkin or something, because then it might absorb even more of the oil that might be left on there.
Oh, they just look and smell wonderful.
Oh, they're great.
Oh,
like I say, my kids and husband love them.
I can't wait till we try these later on in the show. Thank you so much, Sandy.
You're
for
welcome.
Your Parmesan knots. And the last item that we're going to be making today, I'm going to demonstrate, and that's going to be a shrimp and cream cheese spread. This is really one of the most simple spread recipes that you're ever going to come across, and it's one that's extremely delicious. If you have friends and relatives that like shrimp cocktail, they are going to just go crazy over this one. What you use is 1 8-ounce container of cream cheese, and then we have about a 1/2 cup of loosely packed minced parsley. And then we have some chili sauce, and we have a 6-ounce bag of frozen shrimp. Now you want to defrost those shrimp under cold running water, and then be sure that you press out all the excess water that's in those shrimp. It's great to do that with paper towels. Now, when I took the cream cheese, I whipped up the cream cheese in my food processor. If you don't happen to have a food processor, a mixer will work just as well. And I used a couple of dashes of garlic salt and a couple of dashes of Worcestershire sauce, excuse me, and that's it. So now I'm just going to take the cream cheese mixture and put it in my little tray here. I think this little rubber scraper is going to work a little bit better. And then I'm just going to spread it out evenly over the bottom of the dish. Be sure I get all of that in there. This is a recipe too that if you're not having too large a crowd, you can cut this down to a smaller amount, or you can double it and it'll work very well. Next we take our chili sauce and we just sprinkle that right over the top of the cream cheese mixture. And as you can see, it really works quite well. You want to be sure you cover that cream cheese. Pour a little bit more on. You usually don't use quite a whole bottle of the chili sauce. And then we take the parsley and sprinkle the parsley on top. Oh, and you get this nice red and green and white color. It really is so pretty and colorful to see. Then you take your shrimp, and remember to drain those off, sprinkle it on top, and there we go. And then I like to take just a little bit more of the chili sauce and put a dollop right in the center, and then decorate it with a little bit of parsley. And that's it. It is so simple and so quick you can't believe it. And then I like to put it in a tray with some crackers, and you serve it that way. Really delicious. Now we've had 4 different recipes here this evening. And if you would like copies of these recipes, we'll be happy to send them to you if you would just send us a large business size, self-addressed, stamped envelope. And be sure that you indicate that you would like the recipes for appetizers and hors d'oeuvres, Part 1, to the following address. Well, here are all of our tasty things that we made for you this evening. We're serving it with a punch or a wine, and we have it displayed on a little snack table. And gals, grab a plate. We're going to eat here and taste all these wonderful things. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your favorite recipes with us. And thank you, viewers, for watching. We hope that you're going to tune in at Ease with Cooking next time. Good night.